Plumbing business is boring. Hey gang, hey plumbing pros. That's right, welcome to the morning workout. If you're first time here, or who is this joker? All right, hey, I'm Richard Bainey, the $1 Million Plumber. I've been in the plumbing industry for over 40 years. All right, over 20 of that is with my own plumbing business. I started literally from my kitchen table with no money, just a few hand tools, built it into a multi-truck, multi-million dollar plumbing operation, and then sold it for a lot of money. And then found myself into kind of getting pulled into the coaching. I was getting asked, how'd you do, go from where you were to where you wound up. And so now I coach. And then past 2 years I've coached hundreds of plumbing entrepreneurs, helping them go from being one-shot blunders on the brink of bankruptcy and divorce, sadly many of them, to now happily married, all right, living the life of their dreams and having a multi-truck, multi-million dollar plumbing operation. And through that process, as my statement says, plumbing business is boring. All right, it's just the reality there. It really is boring. I get up, go work out. And working out is boring. It really is boring. The first of the year, everybody's all gung-ho. And even we get past the first of the year, and Mondays, people are there. That's that motivation, because you feel motivated. It's the first of the year, it's a new you, all that kind of stuff. Monday is a new week. So there's that motivation, but the reality, the motivation does not carry you through. Motivation is just a feeling. And we let our feelings get in our way. We wind up just being losers. So I'm just going to speak. I'm here to speak straight. We just let our feelings get in the way, and that's what happens with our plumbing businesses. We get into this, and we're all excited. Maybe get that first account, that first client, that first GC or whatever, and we're all excited. And it's our plumbing business, and we're all motivated and that kind of thing, and that only goes so far. That's why I said, if you've listened, to past or whatever, you go listen to past morning workouts, and check us out on Potty Talk, okay, my YouTube channel, $1 Million Plumber. You can go to the website, $1milliondollarplumber.com. All right, check out my free school page, okay, all kinds of trainings and there's coaching and community and all that kind of stuff available. But through this stuff, as we learn right off the bat, you got to get through your head, man. It ain't about plumbing, and so we're good at plumbing. We're excited about plumbing. We feel in control with plumbing, but that has nothing to do with having our plumbing businesses being successful. For our businesses to be successful, and really, the business is boring. It's doing the same things and being aware of the same things every single day, and it's boring. I often joke about, we're getting in the academy and stuff, and talking with folks. I don't say that in the brochure, because it's really, it's bottom line, it's the truth. All right, and the problem is, we get into day to day, and we're so, especially today, guys. Look, if you grew up in the 80s and the 90s, which odds are you did, and I'm talking to younger men here, you've been conditioned for all this excitement. We get, it's 24/7 sports. You go to a game and you watch a game. It ain't about the game. It's all this other crap going on. It's just we got to be constantly entertained. Our attention span used to be about 5 seconds. Okay, now it's like it's half a second, literally. It is that sad that we can't focus and we can't pay attention to things. It's our entertainment. It's scrolling. That dopamine hit is scrolling. We're so used to now getting that dopamine hit. All right, and so with our business doesn't give us a dopamine hit to make it successful. When Elon Musk, I'm a fan of Elon Musk. First of all, because he's a genius. It just, I love the technology and those kinds of things. I'm not a technology kind of guy, but I love the pushing forward and thinking forward and thinking outside the box. And I was listening to an interview of his, and he said, you know, and in his words, to be successful in what they're working on and what they have to do the homework. You got to do your homework. You got to do your homework. And he said it's boring, and that's it. That's coming from a billionaire, all right? That's successful. And if you really listen to, you know, the other gurus out there and other successful people, they'll talk about that. You'll hear it in one form or another, that it's just boring. Okay, you got to do the boring things, and that's why it's so important. And this is for another subject, another morning workout or whatever. But you can see in the academy, and you know, check out the school page. You're going to talk about this. You got to know your why. All right, you must know your why. And your why isn't because I love plumbing or I can make money at plumbing. Okay, that's not enough. It's not enough to make it through the hard stuff. But more importantly, it's an emotional game. It's a head game. It's not enough to make it through the boring, to do the boring stuff. All right, so you got to know your why you're doing what you're doing. And an example of why is, you know, I want to be able to pay for my kids' schooling. Okay, or you know, I want to be able to travel with the family. We just want to be able to go, okay, and do stuff. You know, even to, you know, that we want a certain house, those kinds of things. Okay, you got to know that, because that's what drives you through the boring. All right, in order for your plumbing business to be successful, you got to focus constantly on doing the boring things, and the boring things are constantly on your mind. So that this thing of balance and, well, when I got to shut off, you know, successful businessmen, okay, anyone successful, all right, is constantly thinking about the boring stuff with their business, all right? So, you know, I love lying next to the lovely Laura, you know, under a palm tree and drinking an adult beverage and looking at the water, okay? That's our why, okay? I love doing that, but I'm thinking about my businesses, about the boring stuff in my businesses. Now, it's not that I'm not necessarily down in the weeds and all that, but I'm thinking about, how, the marketing thing, okay? Okay, I just spoke about that on past morning workout here, you know, the marketing thing. So I'm constantly thinking about that. How can I notch it up, working with my honest hourly rate and control, and am I including all my expenses and time? You raise your honest hourly rate just, $25 in a year, if you sell just 70% of your available hours, just 70% of your available hours, and you've raised your hourly rate $25. That's over $300,000 a year. Okay, another $10,000 a month, straight to the bottom line. So right now, if you're struggling out there, raise your hourly rate $25. All right, you'll get another $10,000 right to your bottom line. Okay, that's the difference between just barely getting by and thriving. Okay, and putting you on the path to thriving. So it's constantly focusing on those boring things. Okay, and that does take a little discipline and practice. Okay, just like working out here. It's boring. Working out, and you got to get into just the discipline of just constantly going, and then it just becomes a habit. So you have a habit of doing it. Today was a perfect example. Lovely Laura and I, we're feeling a little bit under here. We got a little cold. It seems strange talking about cold here in sunny South, warm Florida, hot Florida. Okay, but we got hit with this cold, and Laura's really wiped her out. She has no voice, but we got up. We both were here working out, because it's the boring thing to do, to move the weights and do the exercises, because our why is we want to look good. For me, I want to look good. For the lovely Lord, I want to take off my shirt. We're at the beach sitting underneath a palm tree drinking a adult beverage, and I'm lying next to her. I want to look good for her. That's my why. So I do the boring things. So it's all how do you look at it, okay? Looking at it is funny. We got Disney World here, in Florida. And you take your family to Disney World. This is a perfect example of kind of how we look at things. And it's all, magical, the Magic Kingdom. And we're taking our family, You know, every time we take our family to Disney World, and I know it's the other families, so this is true for your family too, okay, if you've done this, and we're all excited, and we're practically skipping from the parking lot to the monorail and going in, and we're all, you know, and we're all excited. Literally about 2 hours in, okay, the kids are crying or grumpy, hot, you know, tired, hungry, okay. So, you know, you buy the $20 hamburgers, okay, you know, those kinds of things. So you know, our vision is this fun and all, you know, and it's going to be this and that. And the reality of it is, yes, there's fun to it, right? But there's a reality there. The reality of it is, you know, walking around the pavement all day with the little kids in the hot sun is tiring, and they get hot and grumpy and whiny, okay? So same thing with your plumbing business, okay? We start out all fired up, and that's cool, all right? We start taking hits, okay? But in order to be successful, all right, if you focus on the boring things, okay, you focus on the boring things day in, day out, you will be successful. So there we go. Business is boring, all right? Business is boring, but it can provide you a lot of fun. It provides you a lot of fun. All right, so there we go. All right, gang. All right, again, hit your days, okay? Be dangerous. Live like a champion.